talent that gave them life. Children are happiest when they can freely communicate and enjoy the time, talents, and lessons that each parent brings to the relationship.
We make co-parenting difficult when we focus on differences rather than what is in the best interest of our children. Parents, your relationship with each other should never affect the relationship you have with your child. Celebrate your children together. They deserve your best. A message brought to you by the Department of Probation and Child Protection Services. Contact us at 467-1311 or 662-6833 for more information.
Attention, St. and Nevis. The countdown is on, and time is running out. This is your final call, your last chance to save big at Hostos Automotive during our VAT Off Drive On Blog event. It's your final call, your last chance to get up to $15,000 in total savings. No down payment, free servicing for 12 months, free bill of sale, $1,000 in groceries, or 3 months of free gas, free registration, licensing, tinting, and accessories, and 4% VAT off on top of it all. Yes, you've heard right. Everything free and 4% VAT off. But listen closely. This incredible sale ends when June ends. No extensions, no do-overs. This is your final call, your last chance for the biggest auto sales saving for the year. So don't walk, run to Hostos Automotive now. Your dream car is waiting, and these deals are ready to roll. Hostos Automotive, where affordability meets the road. Terms and conditions apply.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects our sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib. It's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
Need to get your goods to St. Kitts and Nevis? Look no further. TDC Shipping has you covered with reliable cargo solutions by land, air, and sea. Whether it's a package from across the world or a large shipment of goods, TDC Shipping makes it easy, affordable, and stress-free. And with our airbox service, ordering from your favorite online stores just got even easier. Ship straight to your mailbox and let TDC Shipping handle the rest. Fast, secure, and even to your door. Visit us today at the C.A. Paul Southwell Industrial Park or Penny's Industrial Site, or call 465-2511 in St. Kitts or 469-5430 in Nevis. TDC Shipping, where reliable service meets unbeatable convenience. TDC, together we succeed.
Welcome to Island Tea with your faves. Keep it locked in with us for your daily dose of hot tea, only on Win Media 98.9.
Good morning to the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, the regional and international diaspora. It's just about 9 minutes after the hour of 8. We welcome you to today's edition of Island Tea. Remember, for those of you who can hear us on the radio, we are on 98.9. That's the FM dial. We are being simulcast on TVC Channel 40, Facebook, as well as YouTube. Just to remind you of our numbers, in the UK, it's 0333440065 or 1-718-285-6984 or 1-305-921-4619 or 466-0989. Quint, how are you doing this morning?
I'm fine, thank you. And you?
Doing much better than yesterday.
Well, that's good.
Plenty better than yesterday. And we know today we have what is called World Bicycle Day. So it draws attention to the benefits of using the bicycle, a simple, affordable, clean, and environmentally fit, sustainable means of transportation. I hardly see bicycles on the road. And if I do see bicycles, are the young men doing the stunts on these bicycles. But I don't see much bicycles. Now it's a scooter.
Yeah,
the electric
the
scooter,
scooter
that's
has taken
yeah.
over. Yeah.
But it's World Bicycle Day, so for those bike enthusiasts that we have here, I know we have a few, enjoy your day. Just be safe on the road as we ask you to do every day. Today at 8:30 we have Weekly Dose with Dr. Natalie Osborne, and it is Men's Health Month, and she will be speaking about prostate cancer and BPH. So you don't want to miss out on that, men. We know you don't go to the doctors like you should. We need a healthy nation because we see every time something happens, most of the time in our federation, be it an accident, an incident, something bad, we see it's the young men. So for those that aren't getting into any indifferent activities, we want you to take care of yourselves because we know those ones will be taken care of whilst they're in the custody of government. So we want you to take care of yourself. So listen in at 8:30 and go to the doctor. Don't wait until you feel sick. Just like how we go and do our annual checkups, you go and do your annual checkups. Don't tell us, oh, I'm fine. Go and do your checkups. We need you in order for the world to survive, and yeah, so go to the doctor. Quint, you agree with me on that one? I can't hear you.
You're always trying to put me in the spot. I'm not going to try to give any bad advice. If you feel you need a checkup, go and visit your nearest physician.
All right. Now I'm trying to get you to go too. That's all right. So I'm just going to touch some international news quickly. Quint, if you have something you want to bring to the fore, just let me know and we can head to that. But I see Gaza official says Israeli forces killed 27 heading to aid site. Israel said it fired near suspects. I don't know how they know where these people are. And
Well, they're always coming up with these lame excuses, you know. Hear that? Fired near
yeah,
suspects.
yeah. How you know the suspects were there?
Yeah, but hear what you said? Near.
Yeah.
So
People are going to get aid. You already cut them off for days, weeks. These people are hungry.
look, this is not going to stop until the powers that be, the real powers around the world, do something about it. And they are not going to do anything about it because, in my opinion, they do not wish to do anything about it. And we, the people, descendants of the exploited and enslaved, must bear these things in mind, because I don't think that we are in any better of a situation. We might be presently, but you never know what the future may bring. And I think that if it were us, they would have the same attitude and maybe even worse.
And you saw that Ukraine had a spider web attack on Russia, right?
Yeah, this Ukraine thing is another thing that is spiraling out of control. Apparently, Germany, in conjunction with NATO, gave the Ukraine government the go ahead to use certain long-range missiles to bombard into Russia, and Zelensky tried to see if they could assassinate Putin, and now Putin is like he's taken off the gloves, and Yeah, and
But I see though, in the next breath though, that, and this headline is from 8 minutes ago, it says Ukrainian and Russian delegates to meet again for direct peace talks. So I guess after this attack.
well, that has been ongoing, but how is it that you're looking for peace talks and yet still you're using these long range missiles and trying to? You didn't hear the article where they attacked a contingent, including the Russian helicopter that carries Putin.
Yeah, I saw that when
Yeah.
it tried.
So you're looking for. Look, Zelensky is not to be trusted.
I don't think any of them are to be trusted.
Well, I'll quicker trust Putin because Putin is fighting for his survival. And I'm going to play you a clip.
Fighting for his survival, how?
Look,
Wasn't he fighting
look.
to bring back the states together?
The world is. I'm going to play you a few clips, and maybe you'll be, because look, all we have done in this part of the world is taken the media from the West and the way the spin they put on it. That is what we have done, and because of that, we are gullible, and we feel that Putin is this. I'm not saying he's a saint, but we feel that Putin is all bad. And for years, before we started to say that Putin is the devil on earth, the West and the United States have been doing wicked things to people around the world. Wicked things. And right now, Israel is doing wicked things to the Gaza people. And we say, well, it is bad and it shouldn't happen. But we, the people of the former enslaved, I like to make sure I say that, we are not in a position to do anything but speak. But other peoples around the world are in position to do things and they are not doing it. So, yeah, but go ahead and do your thing. I'm trying to do something here, and then I'm going to play you a clip or two. So go ahead and do what read an article or whatever. I'm trying to see if I can find a particular ad here. Go ahead.
Okay, no problem. No problem at all. Okay, let me pull up my stuff. But no, I would side with. Hold on.
Yeah, you would side with Zelensky, and I know that.
Okay, I'm not siding with anybody. But if Putin is all this good, right?
I never said he's all
look
good.
For your ad.
I'm saying I never said he's all good, but I'm saying he's not all bad.
But why isn't Navalny still alive? Why couldn't he just lock up his nemesis and just let him be?
Look, again, the world tells you what they want you to hear. And when they want you to hear something, they put, look, so what happened to those students who all they did in the United States was protest and say that what is happening in Israel, is in the Israel region in Gaza is wrong.
I give the United States. I wouldn't give them good for doing that.
Yes,
I would say that's a very bad move because they themselves in their constitution has freedom of speech.
But here
so these people are expressing their freedom of speech, but because somebody has to maintain a loyalty to the other folks, because everything is going to look like anti-Semitism, they're going to fight against the folk that are standing for something instead of falling for anything.
But hear my point. We don't hear the media anywhere around the globe pushing that on a daily basis. We don't hear it.
Well, BBC
that is my point.
I can pick up.
Look, don't
BBC.
even speak to me about the BBC.
But the BBC is.
Look,
the BBC
you see,
keeps this alive.
The BBC, there are some individuals.
This is how I know all the time when they keep bombing food.
There are some individuals in the world who think that the BBC is the Bible of all news. The BBC has been a part of spreading propaganda around the world. The BBC is part of the West.
The BBC is saying Israel attacked and Israel killed this and Israel did that. The BBC is not.
When it's convenient. The BBC does things when perhaps their own citizens start to agitate and they feel like they need to come out and say something because it would look like they're on one side, but they're not consistent. That is my point. Right. Hello, caller?
Good morning to everybody.
Yeah, good day.
Yeah. Good. And greetings once more in Jesus' name, the only Savior of sinners from the sins and from hell in second person of the eternal Trinity. Now, I would like to say, first of all, like I have always been saying, we here in St. Kitts and Nevis, we need to become a republic and get out of the British Commonwealth as well. The sooner the better. Secondly, concerning, well, I would like to talk about the Putin and say issue, but I think I'm going to go to another issue. We now are in the Caribbean are now in the hurricane season. And I would like to say this. The reason why a lot of people just be so scared of the hurricane season is because of the hurricanes so much. Yes, we got kind of a scaredness because of the hurricane. There's that. But the greatest degree of the scaredness that we have is the hurricane. If they come and blow down our houses, we are not able to. Well, of course there are exceptions, but I believe the mass of the people, the majority of people are concerned. We are not really able to build back our houses as quickly as we would like to, and some people will not be able to build back theirs at all. But we would have to be just there stranded, depending on the government to build back our houses. And at times, and from what I made to understand, not even just at times, but a lot of the time, a lot of politics come into play. In government building and repairing and some people houses. And I think that this is what generates most of the fear during the hurricane season, and not so much the hurricane in and of themselves. And the thing is that the reason why people are so cash-strapped, as I've always been saying, is mostly, not all, but mostly due to government policies. With the lower high taxation, government regulation, and high government spending that cause the lower taxes. It's like a circle, and that is why the Caribbean people, well, we in St. Kitts especially, St. Kitts and Nevis especially, are so cash-strapped that we ain't able to do a lot of stuff that we need to do, including taking care of our properties and that sort of stuff, especially when they get destroyed by hurricanes or whatever else. So I think that this is one of the biggest reasons, well, maybe even the biggest reason why we here in this region, in St. Kitts and Nevis particularly, just be so frightened and so scared when hurricane season come around. And it all is due to the fact that government is not being done according to how the Bible says it ought to be done, and because of that, we are impoverishing more and more our people and making life harder and harder for them, including, like I said, repairing and rebuilding our houses when they're destroyed. The government is making such and such harder, which is making it harder and harder for the people, because government is not being done according to the Bible, in limiting government to its biblical functions only.
So
I just wanted to say, yes.
So if we have a hurricane, since you say government, because I know your sentiments towards governments, who is supposed to deal with the mess, especially for those that don't have insurance, who, as we call them, cash strap? Who helps? Since you say,
if we were doing things the way the Bible said to be doing, including running government including having government to be run according to the Bible, people would be easily able to rebuild their houses, rebuild their environment, rebuild their community. People wouldn't need government to do that. And so therefore, people could face hurricanes and so with a lot more confidence.
Okay, they face a hurricane with a lot more confidence, knowing what? This is what I'm trying to find out.
Knowing that we have the resources privately to do our own thing, and we don't have to depend on government to do X, Y, or Z for us.
But you mean we, the people, or me and you should have our own resources stored up, so if a hurricane comes, we could rebuild ASAP? That's what you're saying?
Yes, if government was limited the way the Bible says it should be limited in its function, we would have the necessary money saved up. We would have the necessary money to do things quickly because things would be so cheap to do. Things would be so cheap. The cost of living would not be so anywhere near as high as it is right now. So people will be able to easily and quickly build back their houses, repair the houses, the communities, and that sort of stuff. But we are not
Carla,
able
I don't
because
think
we are going contrary to the Bible.
I was just
Hello?
gonna say, until Jesus puts in its appearance, I don't think any leader is gonna run the world or their country according to the Bible.
You
And that's
don't
the
know.
sad
You don't
part.
know God. You don't know God. God. Well,
Which
well,
country?
The Bible
Which
just-
country leads according to the Bible?
The Scandinavian countries, they have open trade and that sort of. The economy is a market economy, so they have gone through considerable degrees in the Bible. We're doing tough stuff, and the people are more enriched as a result. And I could name other countries, even China. China right now, because of some provinces, not all, but because some provinces have gone more and more in the free market capitalist direction, that has helped China to become more and more economically stronger. Same thing with Singapore, same thing with Taiwan and South Korea and other countries.
Caller,
Hello?
I would appreciate if you cut your call short. I want to play a clip.
No problem.
I
Thank,
wanna-
thank you very much.
All
Yeah.
right, you can always
No
call
problem.
back
Thank you very
later.
much.
I want to play a clip in response to Hortensia getting on my case this morning in relation to my standing on the side of Putin. Look, I don't do what everyone else does, you know. I think for myself. I do what I feel follows my conviction. If you, or not you, Hortensia, but if anyone feels they disagree with what I feel, that is their right. But I will stand on what I feel. So Trump recently came out and he made a whole big hoopla about Putin killing people and he's crazy and blah, blah, blah. And a press individual asked him if he was aware that Zelensky had attacked and tried to assassinate Putin, and he said no. Apparently after that he did some, research, and he found out that yes, this was happening unknown to him, and so he had his department give a response, and that response was that Putin was in his right to defend himself. Okay? So I'm going to play for you this clip that is 4 minutes.
We're going to talk about the assassination attempt on President Putin using NATO weapons to launch this massive attack. Of course, it was all NATO. We know that. Any idiot knows that. You'd have to be mentally retarded to not know that at this point. And so NATO behind this massive attack, this provocation inside of Russia. But to me, the real story here is how President Trump seemed to not know about it and called Putin crazy for launching strikes on drone factories inside of Kiev. Like, in direct response to being targeted in a massive assassination attempt using NATO drones and NATO targeting and NATO weapons. Like, and he didn't know about it? Like, what advisors are around Trump right now not telling him what just happened? That Zelensky and NATO launched this, I don't understand it. To me, that's the bigger story here. You want to talk about the economic ruin that we're sitting in right now. Largely responsible is the sanctions on Russia. So Russia has launched a massive drone offensive against Ukraine in response, hitting key targets. And then, of course, you can see the areas of conflict. The red area controlled by Russia, which was formerly Eastern Ukraine, now is controlled by the Russian Federation. And Russia is moving further beyond the front, creating a new front and a buffer zone. So all of that land that...
So, yes, I'm aware, Lorraine. So I'm going to cut that short, and I'm not going to play the other clip. I'm going to leave that for another time. But the other clip is going to be dealing with Germans themselves, German citizens, making a big wave against their leader and saying that he has not learned from the lessons of history, because the First and the Second World Wars were Germany. Okay? So we're going to take a bit of a break, and when we get back, it'll be time for Weekly Dose. Okay?
We're different. We're 98.9. 98.9. Win FM.
Feel the magic happening.
Campari.
Taste. Something incredible happens when Campari is mixed just right. Like Campari and orange juice poured over ice. Taste it. Try it tonight. Bitter, sweeter, better. Campari. Must be 18 years and older. Drink responsibly.
Tune in to Creative Voices, the ultimate radio call-in program where innovation meets inspiration. Join me, Dr. Sarah Owen, as I welcome brilliant Caribbean creatives and innovators for engaging sessions that promise to spark your creativity. Don't miss this unique opportunity to interact with our guests, ask your burning questions, and gain insights that could elevate your own creative endeavors. Tune in every other Friday from 10 a.m. to midday. Get inspired. Let your voice be heard. Mark your calendars and prepare to embark on a journey of creativity and innovation with Creative Voices.
Welcome to Island Tea with your faves. Keep it locked in with us for your daily dose of hot tea, only on Win Media 98.9.
Good morning, and welcome back to Island Tea, and we are on our weekly dose segment of this morning program. And as I mentioned earlier, the topic is it's Men's Health Month, and our topic is prostate cancer and BPH. Good morning, Dr. Osborne, and welcome back. We were just talking about aging, so yeah, that's why you heard the chuckles.
We're all aging, and we feel it. Our bodies feel it.
Yeah,
right.
big time.
But it's great to be here with everybody on another Tuesday morning. It's always a pleasure. So, June is Men's Health Month. So we're going to show men some love this month by gearing most of our topics on the Tuesdays towards them. So I hope our gentlemen and also their families and wives are listening as well, because you can always encourage the men in your life. So we're going to start off with something that is quite common and quite frequent, and it keeps affecting our men in our community, which is prostate cancer and BPH, which is benign prostatic hyperplasia, or just an enlargement of the prostate that not cancerous. So those are the two most common issues that occurs in the prostate gland as a man gets older. And I'll give you a brief story. A couple weeks ago, I was presented with a gentleman. He was about 78. He came to see me, and he had a hernia. And he wanted the hernia fixed. So as a part of the workup, I said, okay, well, let's get your blood works done. And his PSA was very elevated, over 100, where we know that the normal is 0 to 4. So that is a very red flag. So when I spoke with him and his wife, I said, I'm very concerned about this. Along with doing the hernia, we need to prioritize the prostate gland, and I'm not comfortable with doing anything about the hernia unless we address and see what's going on with the prostate. He was all about the hernia. Doc, the hernia is what's bothering me, Doc, the hernia. And I'm explaining to it little by little. His wife was more on board with me, but he was so much more resistant. Eventually, we were able to do the prostate biopsy, and lo and behold, it did turn out to be prostate cancer. Oh, boy. And so hence now we're dealing with a gentleman who has prostate cancer, which is a malignancy. So we're going to talk about those things today: prostate cancer and BPH.
All right, so let's get into it. So what is the prostate gland and its function?
So the prostate gland is like a walnut-shaped organ, a small structure that sits below the bladder, the urinary bladder. And what passes through that prostate gland, it is the urethra, which is a little tube that takes urine from the bladder to the exterior when you have to pee. So that is why that one is important. The function of the prostate gland, it secretes a nice little fluid. We call it the prostatic fluid. It has enzymes, proteins, minerals in it that helps to give nutrition or nutrients to the sperm. The sperm is formed, created in the cells that are inside of the testicle. And when it's time for an ejaculation, of course, it mixes as it passes with the fluid from the prostate gland, and it helps to lubricate it, helps the motility of the sperms, okay? And it also helps to neutralize the acidic pH. We talk about pH in science, okay? Because the vagina itself is a little bit more acidic, and that does a favor the sperm, so it helps to neutralize the the pH in the vagina and makes it much more easier for the sperm to survive and get to where they need to go. Everything is about, nature is about reproducing and ensuring that everything goes well. So we have fertilization, and we develop an embryo that turns into a fetus, and we eventually have a baby. So that's where it comes into play. So when your prostate starts to grow, then you start having all these symptoms. Typically, a prostate enlarges as a man gets older. Once you pass the age of 40, we know naturally, as we women have our issues, men would have the growth of the prostate, it begins to enlarge.
Oh, wow. Is it a must that it grows, though?
Once you're alive, it's going to change. Once a man is alive and well, there's going to be changes in his prostate. Depends on your genetics, of course. It's going to be different for some. The same way with women. As we age and we go through menopause, there are changes in our body, there are changes in our breasts, there are changes in our skin, and even our vagina wall changes. So these are natural changes that occur as one ages.
Okay. So what is benign prostatic hyperplasia, or BPH?
So big word. Let's focus on calling it BPH. You want to keep in mind that that is the enlargement or the multiplication of the cells in the prostate glands. That is not cancer. Okay? So it is not a cancer. It is what we call benign. We've discussed this before. When you hear something benign, that term, it means it's non-cancerous. Once you hear that term malignant, you're thinking something that is cancer. So these are two terms I want our audience to keep in mind. So we know that the prostate, as a man gets older, naturally there are going to be changes and the cells multiply, so the prostate gland grows.
Okay, I know you mentioned how common it is, but let us still discuss how common is BPH.
No, it is extremely common. Once a man gets beyond the age of, once a man gets beyond the age of 60, it is said that 50% of men above the age of 50 will have some form of BPH, okay? And by the age of 85, 90% of men will have signs of BPH and symptoms. So think about it. The longer a male lives, the more likely he will have some form or symptoms associated with an enlarged prostate. That is just natural as he ages. So by the age of 60, 50% of men have some signs of BPH, and by the age of 85 or more, up to 90% will have some sign. Sometimes the signs and symptoms associated with an enlarged prostate, as we will talk about briefly, are so subtle. So a male adjusts and then he doesn't even realize he's having some of these symptoms, okay? Because it happens slowly over time as the body changes.
Okay, so let's talk about the warning signs of BPH.
Yes. So remember we spoke about the anatomy, Hortensia, and our audience, that the prostate sits just below the bladder. And there is an important tube that passes through it that we call it the urethra. And so when a man has the urge to pee, of course, that urine passes through the urethra and goes out to the exterior. So that's the waist now, okay? What happens as this prostate gland enlarges, the urethra or that small tube become crushed or squeezed in the center. And that is where all of the symptoms associated with prostate enlargement starts to become. So it's some form of obstructive symptom. So keep that in mind. If you have a tube that was supposed to be 1 centimeter in diameter and now it's 0.5 or 0.3 centimeter, the urine is not going to be able to flow out adequately. And so these men will start having dribbling. Think about it, the young men, we know that when you're young, you could stay from one side of the street and shoot the urine to the other side of the street and things like that because it comes out with such force. That's because of youth. But as you get older, the stream and the flow gets weaker. So men would have to stand directly over the toilet bowl. Some men have now decided to sit down as well. Their wives will sometimes complain that they're messing up the toilet bowl, they're messing up the cap, what you call that little rug mat in front of the toilet bowl, and she will be fussing at him because he doesn't have the same strength and the flow. So that's what we call slowness, and sometimes they dribble. Sometimes when a male finishes using the bathroom, he puts away his penis and then his underwear is wet. That's what you call post-micturiation dribbling. So after you've urinated, there's a little bit of flow dripping out. Men would have difficulty starting to pee. You would have an older man and a younger man. They're at a game, a basketball game, a football game, and they all rushing during the break time to go to urinate. And the young men come in and they pee and they're gone. But the older men are standing there. It takes longer for them, just for them to get the stimulus for the urine to come out. They have things that they feel like they need to go to pee. Sometimes you see your grandpa feeling like he has to rush to pee or he's going to pee on himself. We call that urgency. And then some men, they have to go quite often. Why? Because they're not emptying their bladder enough. They feel like after they've urinated, they still have urine inside of their bladder. So we call that's the urge to go back and to go back again. So they're not completely emptying. Some persons will have their pee change color. Some persons will have pain once they after they pee, or sometimes during ejaculation. Those are some of the symptoms that we.
And the pee that smells.
Pee that smells. What happens? If your pee sits inside of your bladder for too long, it can get infected secondarily, or it can create a problem. Bacteria can start to grow. It's just like you put down any food or anything there. Think about even a flow of water. You know the drain. We have our drain. And if the drain gets blocked up further down the line, that water stays there and it becomes stagnant. And so that's what happened to some of our older men. The urine is not being emptied as it should from the bladder. So then it becomes foul smelling when it sits there for a long period of time.
Okay, what happens if you leave an enlarged prostate untreated?
So we're seeing a lot of this happening to our gentlemen, and this is why we speak about these topics, because we don't want to have these problems. Because if you don't have any treatment when it comes to an enlarged prostate, what's going to happen? Think about the anatomy, and I want to make sure that our audience follow me. So then you could eventually go on Google and look for an image. That sits on top, you have the kidneys. From the kidneys, we've got two tubes that we call the ureters. Okay, those tubes enter into the bladder. And then you have the urethra that empties out via the penis. So if you block any part there, you're going to have repercussion back up the stream, like, okay? So if you block off the urethra by an enlarged prostate, that urine sits inside of the bladder. And then what happens, you have that backup there that affects the kidneys. These are the persons who can even go into kidney failure over time. So those are some of the complications. The urine sits inside of the bladder for a long period of time, and you get a secondary infection. We call that a bladder infection or UTI. It's part of the UTI. If this urine sits there, you have sediments that are inside of the urine, and what you can have, stones forming inside of the urinary bladder. Okay, and then you have a male coming, Doc, I'm having this pain in my bladder, a start and stop urine, you do an ultrasound, there's a stone inside of the bladder. You could have blood or hematuria, when a man pees and he has blood in the urine, oftentimes one of the most common things is because he has an enlarged prostate. The prostate gland is very vascularized. There's a lot of blood vessels. And as the blood, it extends and grows, it puts strain and pressure, and these blood vessels become engorged and they can rupture and bleed. So we don't want that. You also have things, we talk about kidney damage. That's the worst. When a gentleman knows, because he has not addressed the condition of an enlarged prostate, he then has kidney failure, which leads to him having to do what? Having dialysis.
But you can only have dialysis, doc, up to a certain age.
Well, sometimes, yes, there are criteria for who is in condition to have dialysis, of course. But what if he's 60? He's still relatively young. Yes. What if he's 70? Okay, and then he has this problem. He needs a kidney transplant. We don't do that here. He needs dialysis, which is extremely expensive, and then he may not meet the criteria to be placed on dialysis.
So how is BPH diagnosed?
So we've talked about a lot of the symptoms. Of course, when you're going to make a diagnosis of anything, and I like to emphasize that, you want to talk about the history. What are some of the symptoms the person presents with, as we mentioned earlier? And then you want to do some physical examination. One of the first things you can do in office at the hospital is to do a digital rectal exam. It's simply that you have a glove finger with some lubricant and you insert that into the rectum, because just in front of the rectum lies the prostate gland, and you can feel it. All right, with a trained finger, you can get an idea. Is that prostate enlarged? Is that prostate lumpy, bumpy, or have nodules? Once you start having nodules inside of the prostate gland, you're thinking that that prostate gland may have a cancer inside of it. And we're going to talk about that. So different conditions you're feeling with. And so then you can do other studies. You, of course, want to do, you can do things like an ultrasound that can give you some information about how the bladder is empty, about how the prostate looks, the size of the prostate, if there are any nodules in the prostate. You could do a CT scan or MRI. Those are much more advanced, but they can give you similar information, but a little bit much more detailed than an ultrasound would. You've got different flow tests where you can check how your bladder is emptying and what the residual volume is, because they're standard numbers. After you pee, your bladder will have some urine inside it, but if they realize that urine that left after you urinate is increasing in volume, that is indicative that there is something wrong. You can do a cystoscopy where we pass a little camera inside via the penis, looking inside the bladder, see what the condition is like, see if there is prostate tissue that is encroaching or imposing inside of the urinary bladder. So there are lots of different ways we can test it. And of course, we say the gold standard to confirm anything is always going to be a biopsy. You need tissue from that prostate gland to confirm what the condition is.
Okay, let's talk about the treatment for BPH. How is it treated?
So we're thinking about the treatment, Hortensia. Well, we want to keep this in mind when we're treating anything, of course. Sometimes if the symptoms are very mild, you may not need treatment in the early stage, but because your healthcare provider may recommend a watchful waiting period, so you observe for a bit, and you schedule regular appointments. But if your symptoms continue to progress, you may need medication. Medication is some of the first steps we can do. There are different types of medication you can use, and the two main groups is one that we call an alpha-1 blocker that relaxes the muscle that's inside of the urethra and the prostate. So what? Once the muscle relaxes, the urethra or that little tube is able to relax and the urine flows out. The other major mechanism of action would be using something that stops the conversion of testosterone to DTH, which is dihydrotestosterone. But you don't want too much of the dihydrotestosterone. That causes the prostate gland to grow. So you stop that, okay, with a type of medication. All right, so there are different brands and different things. We've got some you've called Flomax, some of our audience may be familiar with it, Hydrain and things like that. You've heard about the famous finasteride or Proscar. Those are things that we can use in terms of helping persons to not only cause the prostate gland to shrink, and help the muscles there to relax so the urine can go right ahead.
Caller, good morning. You're live on Weekly Dose.
Good morning. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Doc, for your information and your teaching. It has been said a long time ago that 1 ounce of prevention is better than a pound of cure. And I think that you're preaching the preventative measure. But the question that I have for you is, you have said that the kidney keep on dumping excess fluid into the bladder. If the bladder fails to dump, then it means that the urine will be backed up to the kidney, and it's possible that the kidney will take back up some of that same urine and recycle it. That's possible. That is what causing the problem for the kidney. That you could give clarity on, and it appears to me like if you fail to urine, then that is where most of your problem comes from, in the kidney area. If that is not so, please explain. And if it's so, thank you very much and continue to educate. Have a good day.
Okay, thank you, caller, for that question. So things should only flow in one direction, from the kidney down. So we want to make sure that is clear. The function of the kidney, so the blood passes through the kidney, and it has those nice tiny little structures there that filters out the blood, and it's getting rid of the toxins that is inside our blood, and you want to get rid of that. Okay, so the excess stuff that your body don't need and all these toxins, it's getting rid of it, and it forms what we know as the urine. So the urine is formed inside of the kidneys. It is excreted by the kidneys down those tubes. We call those the ureters. Okay, they get into the bladder, it's stored, and the opportune time when you have that stimulus, you want to go and pee, it empties out. If we have a blockage at any part of the tube, there's repercussion up to the top by the kidneys. The kidneys is not going to take back up that urine. Okay. The kidney has already dumped it because it's of no use to the kidney. And so, but what happens? The kidney is continuously filtering out blood, and there's going to be a backup. And anytime there's a backup, what's going to happen? The urine is not going to be able to get through these little filtering system because everything downstream has a problem. Yeah. And so everything backs up there. These little structures then become damaged over time. And damaged as it continues, because everything starts right down at a cellular level. As it starts to become damaged, what happens? Your kidney stop functioning as it should. That's why we talk about kidney failure in certain cases like this. We call that obstructive uropathy. Big word. Because of the obstruction there, it damages the kidney, and we don't want that to happen at all. So the kidney is not going to take back up all urine or bad urine. It is always getting rid of the stuff that we do not need, but it gets backed up and the cells are damaged at a cellular level. Then the kidney becomes enlarged, it becomes painful, it becomes uncomfortable, and it doesn't function as it should. And that is where the person ends up having what? Kidney failure. They start to look puffy. The different tests, when you do it, your potassium gets elevated, something specific that we call creatinine, that's one of the toxins your body needs to get rid of, that becomes elevated. And that is, all these are signs now. The person, limbs are swollen. Yeah, the edema. And then you have your kidneys that are shutting down and you're not functioning as they should.
Okay, caller, good morning. You're live on Weekly Dose.
So in simple words, when you feel the urge, the first urge, go. Don't wait until to see how strong you are, to see how much urine you can hold. Once you feel it, it's time to go. Because if you take time to go, you're going to take your time to get to the restroom. So don't pretend anything. Just go and get the rid of it immediately once it gives you that signal that you need to urine. Just go. You're not a strong man and a strong woman.
Okay.
Best to get rid. That's your simple saying, right?
What you said?
Could you repeat that for the doc? She didn't hear the last part.
Okay, but he touched on something, and I want to clarify, but he's correct in part. When you have the urge to go, go. Yeah. Right? But we're not talking about the person physically not going just because they don't want to go. Yeah. Or they're in a bad situation. Like we may be on the air right now, and go. So we
Yeah.
have to hold it. But these persons, they want to go, but they're unable to because of the obstruction or the blockage of that important tube. You go, but you're not emptying out enough. And that urine just sits there and backs up. And what happens, because I never mentioned this, the bladder is a beautiful structure that it has muscles in it. What happens, it stretches and it distends and it accommodates more and more urine over time. So then we call that chronic distension of the urine, okay? And so you get more comfortable holding on to more urine, but you don't know that because the body is adjusting to the problem that is going on. So your bladder, just suppose you have a small balloon and it holds so much. Because of the inability to empty, the walls of the bladder extend more to be able to accept more and accommodate more urine. So it's different from us sitting here right now having the urge but holding on to it because we're not in position to go. That individual, although they want to go because of the obstructive symptoms and because of that enlarged prostate, they're unable to go as they would.
Okay. All right, so let's continue on. We were on the treatment methods. You mentioned the medication. I see surgery here.
Yes, so there are different ways we can treat it. The ultimate thing is that I want our audience to remember that the prostate gland sits below the bladder and there's an important tube that passes through it. So as that prostate gland enlarges, it also pushes it up into the bladder, encroaches into the bladder. And that's that median lobe. If we talk about the different lobes of the prostate, there's a middle lobe that tends to give you that obstruction. So the idea of the treatment is getting rid or opening that middle lobe, okay? The surgical treatment. We've talked about the medication to help relax the muscles and shrink some of the prostate gland. So that middle lobe. And so we do different...
Hello?
Okay, caller, go ahead. You're live on Weekly Dose.
Yes, good morning to all. What I would like to know is, why is the prostate gland so prone to getting cancer, since it has minerals and vitamins in it in a way as a store that keep it healthy?
That's it? That's the question?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and does it just decide, well, you know, after a number of years, I'm just going to crank out and just get cancerous? Why is it prone to be cancerous after a certain time?
All right. Doc will answer that question for you. Thank you for that one.
Okay. So that brings us to a second part. So we talk about the surgical treatment. So you just want to, so there are different ways and fancy ways that you can remove that lobe or that part of that lobe so that the urine can flow. The objective is so that the gentleman is able to have an outflow of the urine to the exterior. Anything you can do. There are different laser surgeries, there are different things that you can resect part of that, okay? So then prostate cancer, that is one of the other most common conditions that affects the prostate gland. The young lady called in and asked about why we get cancer. Just like any other cancer, breast cancer, lung cancer, colon cancer, there is a lot of times risk factors but no direct cause. What happens in every single cancer, at some point what is going on, the cells are multiplying unnaturally. The cells are supposed to be born, divide, grow, and then perform their function and then die. So we have that natural cycle. And there are different systems put in place so that it follows that. But when there are mutation at a cellular level, nuclear level, then these cells continue to grow and then they spread. And that is how we have these cancers. We know that prostate cancer is the most common cancer in male, okay? It's only second to skin cancer, but skin cancer affects both gender, but it's the most common cancer in male. And from the CDC, their data says that if you have 100 men, at least 13 of them will develop cancer in some point of their life. And the data shows that 34,000 males in the United States die from prostate cancer each year. So it is a very common cancer. And just like she talks about the nutrients and the good stuff inside of it, because of time, wear and tear, mutations in the body, persons develop cancer. Okay, we know about the different risk factors, but there is no one specific reason that is still known. It's a compilation of body changes, genetic changes, environmental changes we know that cause different cancers to develop. Okay, the thing about it, those risk factors that we can have or we can control, we can do what we can, but some things on a cellular level we cannot change.
Caller, go ahead. You're live on Weekly Dose. Okay, we lost that caller. You can always call back. Our prostate. Okay. Caller, go ahead.
Yes. I would like to ask the doctor, what are the complications in having your prostate removed? Complications and urination, complications and erection, and complications of whatever else there may be. Okay, thank you.
Okay, all righty. So when we talk about removing the prostate gland, we call a total radical prostatectomy. That's removing the entire prostate gland. That's commonly used if a person has prostate cancer. Depends on a decision of the treatment for any cancer would depend on the patient's overall condition, the stage or how advanced a cancer is, okay, and what are the benefits and the risks. But if you're going to remove the prostate cancer completely, with a benign condition, we don't remove the entire prostate. Remove mostly that middle lobe or that area that blocks the outflow. But if there is a cancer in the prostate gland, right, and you want to do a radical prostatectomy, right there in that zone, that pelvic zone has lots of nerves running through that area, lots of blood vessels, and you are likely to have some form of injury, though careful, though you're in the best center in the world. And these nerves also are responsible for erection. So one of the things that a man can have is erectile dysfunction.
Once you remove that gland.
Once you remove the entire gland, yes, because you can injure inadvertently, unknowingly, and it's part of the complications. Remember, we talk about there are complications after surgery. You're looking always at risk versus benefit. If your physician said based on your condition, based on the stage of your cancer, they think that the best option is, and you have to determine that as along with your physician, because there's also radiation therapy, there are other forms of treating prostate cancer. But if you decide on having a total removal of the prostate gland, some of the complications can include having an erectile dysfunction. Sometimes these men can have urinary incontinence. They can't control their peeing, and sometimes they pee inadvertently. Those are some of the things that you can have. You can always have an infection there as well. You can have chronic pain as well too in the pelvic area, so they're associated complication. Lots of times now there are different ways of dealing with the prostate cancer that may not lead you to remove the entire gland, okay, so that you can avoid some of these complications such as the impotence. But you also have to realize too, some of the medical treatment for prostate cancer can lead to impotence, and you're weighing risk versus benefit. And if you want to have an extended life, you may have to undergo the treatment, whether it be medical and surgical, and you may still have some erectile dysfunction or some level of incompetence.
Ever encountered a patient that didn't want to do it because that would have been the outcome?
Well, they would ask, doctor, what is the management or treatment that least likely to lead to erectile dysfunction? Because that is an important part of a man's life. But also know, having a cancer, and as the cancer progresses, you will eventually have erectile dysfunction as well too. Yes, because that
with or without treatment.
Yes, because a lot of times that as the cancer cells spread, they're going to infiltrate those nerves as well too, damaging those nerves that are surrounding, and the person will have symptoms of erectile dysfunction.
Boy,
So you're not getting away from it to some
Either way,
extent,
wow.
either way. So we talk about quickly some of the symptoms associated with prostate cancer. Similarly to, they can be similar to the BPH or the natural enlargement. So that's where the flow is weak. That's where you can have blood in the urine. That's when you can have burning when you pee. That's where you can lose your bladder control and have incontinence. There's sometimes you have painful ejaculation. You can have blood in the semen, and you can have pain in your lower back or your pelvic region. That usually may be indicative that you have advanced disease, because what? The prostate cancer tends to spread to your pelvic bone and your hips and those regions, and those are why you start having that symptoms of having lower back pain, hip pain.
Wow. Are prostate problems always a sign of prostate cancer?
No, because we mentioned that there are different causes of enlargement of the prostate. Three main things. The other one I never mentioned is prostatitis. Remember we spoke about once there is a itis associated with a word, it's an infectious or inflammatory process. So a person can have an infection. Young men especially, they're sexually active. If they're not using any protection, they can have bacteria go inside the prostate gland, causes an inflammation. Other cases, if you use any kind of instrumentation where you put a Foley catheter inside of the prostate, or go right ahead.
Go ahead, caller. You're live on Weekly Dose.
Yes, I'm trying to ask again. So a man who has his prostate removed and is having erectile dysfunction because of that, would such thing as Viagra and so on be of any help to him? Okay, thanks.
Thank you for that question.
Very interesting. Sometimes it can be of help, but sometimes, yes, sometimes it can be of help. Yes, Viagra can be of help. Let the other call come through then.
Okay, caller, go ahead. You're live on Weekly Dose.
Yes, good morning. Good morning to you on the case. I got a quick question concerning the discussion here. So once the prostate, not the prostate, sorry, the gland, is that the prostate gland we're talking about?
Yes.
Okay, so once the male come into a situation like this and he takes that surgery, is that, I mean, I know you're talking about impotence and stuff like that. That caller before, he asked a good question. I had that question in mind. But is that it for his reproductive, or, can you go that step further and talk about the reproductive, the male reproductive? Is that fit for him for producing a baby? I mean, especially naturally, from natural intercourse.
Okay.
Okay, thanks.
Okay,
yeah,
Okay, I got the question. So we said that Viagra can help. One of the things that Viagra does is dilate the blood vessels going down to the penis and engorge the penis. So it does help. Of course, it's not going to be perfect.
Okay.
The other gentleman asked about having, being able to reproduce. The beautiful thing, though, commonly when a gentleman has prostate cancer, he's usually above the age of 50, 60. So it's usually an older gentleman's condition.
Okay.
So directly when it comes to reproduction, the prostate doesn't have any, it does help because we say it produces this fluid, this prostatic fluid that helps facilitate the movement of the semen. But remember, the semen is produced inside of the testicle. There are these special cells inside there that help produce the semen. So even in a condition, a man can get support, even if he wants to, with artificial insemination, but the sperms are still being produced because the sperms themselves are not produced in the prostate gland. Okay. But the beauty about it, most of the time when a man faces a prostate cancer, he's usually above the age of 50, 60. So he would have reproduced. Okay. So that's not the main reason of infertility in a male. So keep that in mind. Okay. Prostate cancer is not associated typically with infertility.
This seems like a hot topic this week, and we might just have to continue next week. So, oh boy, because as mentioned, we're already over time. So what would be your closeout for today? Because we have not gotten through everything that we
have
needed.
not gotten to anything.
Yeah.
Closing out, just remember, for prostate cancer, it is more seen in blacks, our race, rapidly. Advancing age, we talk about age. It says about 65% of prostate cancer occurs when a male is 65 years or older. So hence, he's usually not thinking about reproducing at that time. Family history, because there's some family history, and genetic risk factors. Smoking. So things we can always do: eliminate the smoking, eliminate the alcohol use, exercise, and stay as healthy as we can. My emphasis is always going to be prevention. I want our individuals in our community, in our small island, to check in early with their physician. So that would be my closing thought, that we check in, and if we have early symptoms of where we're having difficulty in urinating, you check in with your physician and get that sorted out as early as you can. And thanks for your tremendous support today. Thank you, Cartensia, and everybody here in the studio always.
So we're going to continue this next week. We're going to continue the parts that we didn't touch next week, right?
Well, they could bring in their questions and we'll go from there. But I had some other topics geared to the words of gentlemen that I think are very, very vital that we talk about them.
Okay,
all right?
No problem. So
right.
we're not gonna harp on this one, but we're gonna continue.
And always, if you have any questions related to men's health during this month, we're gonna address those. All right.
All righty. Thank you so much, Doc. We really appreciate you coming in, educating us. As one of our callers mentioned, your hard work is not going unnoticed. The masses are listening, and we thank you.
You're most welcome. So have a beautiful day, everyone, and be kind to each other.
We're different. We're 98.9. 98.9. Win FM.
Build with us at Hostels Building and Nevis Centers. We don't just sell materials, we help you build your dreams. Whether it's a new home, a renovation, or a DIY project, we're here to make it happen. That's why we say, build with us. From foundation to finish, come to our stores where we have the best in building materials, hardware, tools, paints, expert advice, and more. Whatever you need, you can count on us. So if you're ready to get started, build with us. With Hostels Building and Nevis Centers, you're not just building a structure, you're building a future. Let us help you create something amazing. Dream with us, plan with us, grow with us, build with us. Come build with us at Hostels Building and Nevis Centers today. Build with us at Hostels.
Let's stop child sexual abuse. The age of consent is 16, yet our 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, and 10-year-olds are becoming victims of sexual abuse and exploitation, which is being forced into sexual activity before they are old enough to decide. This causes mental, emotional, and physical harm to our children. Parents, it is your responsibility to protect and to educate your children. Develop a relationship of trust with your child. If they trust you, they will tell you. Child sexual abuse cannot be our norm. We must work together to correct this. Help us prevent, help us protect, help us prosecute. A message by the Department of Probation and Child Protection Services. Contact us at 467-1311 or 662-6833 for more information.
Welcome to Island Tea with your faves. Keep it locked in with us for your daily dose of hot tea, only on Win Media 98.9.
And we are back on Island Tea, and I know Greg mentioned this when he called in this morning, and this is on our winnfm.com page, and it says Prime Minister Drew issues urgent preparedness warning as 2025 Atlantic hurricane season begins. And I've read various articles, and they have mentioned that this season is going to be the worst of the worst. We have some terrible hurricanes, we have some slight ones, so... And I'll just touch varying parts of the article. As I say, this article is available in its entirety on winnfm.com. And it's written by Kevin Brown, and it says, as the 2025 Atlantic hurricane season officially commences this week, Prime Minister, the Honorable Dr. Terence Drew, delivered a solemn message to the citizens and residents of St. Kitts and Nevis, emphasizing that the Federation must not underestimate the threat posed by this year's storm. So let's not underestimate. As I mentioned earlier, let's know where our shelters are. Let's prepare. Let's not just say, oh, hurricane is not going to bother us. We pray for that. We hope that God continues to keep us safe, but we must prepare just in case. Citing projections from the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, NOAA, Dr. Drew highlighted an expected above normal season with the potential of up to 19 named storms, 10 hurricanes, excuse me, and possibly 5 major hurricanes reaching category 3 or higher. The Prime Minister emphasized the increased severity and unpredictability of hurricanes, attributing these changes to climate change and rising ocean temperatures. He noted storms are now forming faster, intensifying quicker, excuse me, and changing path with a little warning. Some slow down and dump enormous amounts of rain, increasing the risk, my voice, excuse me, increasing the risk of severe flooding, while others accelerate, leaving us with far less time to prepare. He emphasized the vital importance of constant readiness and detailed the government's commitment to bolstering disaster response capabilities, including enhanced coordination with agencies such as NEMA, infrastructure resilience, and improvements to emergency shelter. I'm going to read this last part, and it says, Dr. Drew urged everyone to take personal responsibility seriously, cautioning against last-minute preparations. Do not wait for a warning that a storm is approaching to rush to the hardware store or the supermarket. Do not wait for the panic buying or last-minute scramble. Do not delay repairs to your roof or windows or deter securing your property. The time to act is today. So let us be prepared. As I said earlier, buy the canned stuff, put them up, make sure they have good dates, get your plastic bins for your important documents. I know everything around you is important, but secure what you can secure, and let's prepare. If it's not for us, we pray God cover us, but let's prepare. Let's not be caught with our pants down, as we would say.
Most definitely not.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so where do we go? Okay, I'm going to revisit something that we were discussing before.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to revisit the
Ukraine
Putin thing. But before I do that, let me ask this question.
Mm-hmm.
Why is it that we, as descendants of the formerly enslaved people, are so trusting of the individuals who enslaved our foreparents and for over 400 years have kept us in suppression? How is it that we are so keen and we take up everything they say, we listen to their media, we believe in their media, but Putin, nowhere in our history has Russia captured, enslaved put our people through any kind of those despicable things. Nowhere in our history. But yet still, soon as we hear something bad about Putin, we jump on it and we say, oh, he's the devil incarnated. But the very same people who are still oppressing us in Africa today, who are still oppressing us in the Caribbean, recently, yesterday, I think it was, Socrates had some guests who were speaking about something that is happening to them in Bonaire, which proves that they are still oppressing our people, the indigenous people, but yet still they are the media we listen to. It's quite interesting.
Okay, so you're saying that Ukraine and other countries are oppressing us, but we're not speaking on that.
I am not speaking about Ukraine. I'm speaking about Europe.
Europe?
From Britain, the Germany, the Netherlands, the French, the Spanish, the Americans. Those are the media that we listen to today. Those are the ones who, the BBC especially, CNN, Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, they are the ones we listen to. Well, leave Canada out of it because
we hardly ever hear anything about
Canada. Canada was vital in the underground railway system, so they didn't play that kind of a role. So leave Canada out of it, okay? Because I am well aware of my history, but everyone else, they are the ones who are still to this day trying to keep us down. Recently, Trump put all kind of tariffs on our region, and we are not in a position to do. What have we done to the United States of America? But yet still, they are the ones. Soon as their media puts out something, we're gullible to it. We run with it. I am saying, be wary of everybody, and I am saying Russia has never had a history of enslaving our people, neither Putin or anyone else. Tell me, Hortensia, if you know of that history.
I don't know of that history. I can honestly say
that history does not exist.
But why is it then people can't just speak about what they see and they are not unalived? And I say that to say, if this guy is so good, why has none of his opposition?
And
because I swear, if he catches Zelensky now, Zelensky is going to be dead in days.
Well, if
or maybe in a day.
If I were him and I caught Zelensky,
see.
But if you hear what I said,
I said. Zelensky would fight for his rights. So.
But no, who was provoking Lewinsky before? Him, because he allowed NATO. He allowed NATO to start
the war. They were saying before this war started.
Hortensia, you're not being fair. If you, Hortensia, are over there, and I decide I'm going to stay over here and point a gun at you and threaten you, you have a right to defend.
People saw people coming into Ukraine and they say nothing's going to happen. Then next minute, big war.
Anyway, let me play this clip.
Germany's streets have erupted in fury. Across cities, thousands of demonstrators
this is the German people, okay?
Unleashing a wave of protest against Chancellor Friedrich Merz's growing military support for Ukraine. From Munich to Hanover, protesters carried national flags and symbolic coffins, accusing Merz of warmongering and dragging Germany into a dangerous conflict. Some placards read, "Merz must go, no Taurus missiles, and stop NATO's madness." In Munich city center, hundreds marched in defiance, condemning Berlin's plan to send long-range Taurus missiles to Kyiv and warning against deploying German troops near Russia's doorstep. Under the new agreement, Germany will fund long-range missiles with no range restrictions, effectively giving Ukraine the green light to strike targets deep inside Russian territory. Berlin will also co-finance satellite-based battlefield communication systems.
We will continue our military support and even increase it so that Ukraine can continue to defend itself against this Russian aggression, now and in the future. And I want to stress something new in this context.
This is the Russian leader, okay?
We are financing a considerable
German
part
leader,
of the Starlink coverage of the country. And our defense ministers are going to sign a memorandum of understanding on the procurement of long-range weapon systems produced by Ukraine, so-called long-range fires. There will be no range limits on these. Ukraine will be able to fully defend itself, including against military targets outside its own territory.
Russia responded with fury. The Kremlin condemned the deal as an act of war, branding Germany an enemy and warning of severe consequences.
You hear that?
Russia officials even accused Berlin of resurrecting its darkest militaristic instincts.
Germany is sliding down the same slope it has already slid down a couple of times in the last century, down towards its collapse. I hope that the responsible politicians in that country will finally come to the right conclusion and stop this madness.
From sending helmets to now enabling deep strike capabilities, Germany has transformed into the second largest arms supplier to Ukraine, only behind the US. It's a historic pivot from its post-Prostate military restraint. But at home, that shift is triggering a deepening political and social fracture. Citizens are protesting not just the war, but what they call the hollowing out of social programs to bankroll defense budgets.
You hear that?
I find the Taurus missile system to be very dangerous, starting from its basic concept.
These are the
its delivery
citizens
is
now.
like a boomerang. What you send out eventually comes back to you. In other words, if a German missile hits Russian territory, it shouldn't come as a surprise when Putin interprets that as an act of war and responds accordingly, targeting the Germans who supplied such weapons. Therefore, I say no to Merz, no to his warmongering, and a clear no to the Taurus missile system.
This isn't a one-off flare-up. The protests come days after Merz stood shoulder to shoulder with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky in Berlin, announcing a game-changing weapons deal that shattered previous red lines.
We are against long-range missiles. We are against supplying weapons to Ukraine because we stand in solidarity with Russia.
These are
So the
Germans
fact that
speaking.
Germany wants to get involved in the war in Ukraine is something we don't like at all, and we are absolutely opposed to this. No, German soldiers should be withdrawn again. They should definitely not be sent there.
Tensions were palpable. Protesters and counter-protesters clashed verbally, forcing police deployment in large numbers to prevent escalation. One striking display, a coffin labeled Germany's Future, captured fears of a nation sleepwalking into war.
We must not attack Russia. You should have understood that after trying it twice in our history. Merz is the worst thing that could have happened to us. It is from BlackRock, and it is controlled by BlackRock.
Germany, once a cautionary voice, now finds itself staring down the barrel of its own foreign policy. The anger didn't stop at foreign policy. Protesters lashed out at Merz's asylum policies, claiming the system is overwhelmed and national security is being compromised. One activist even called him a traitor to the fatherland.
I think that Friedrich Merz is not just a professional liar, as they say every time, but a criminal and a traitor to the fatherland. The man must go. He must be replaced immediately.
Even within Merz's own CDU party, The cracks are visible, signaling elite discomfort with his aggressive pivot. With protests swelling and opposition hardening, Mertz's war gamble risks backfiring at home, in Europe, and on the global stage.
Now, this is the news we don't listen to. And again, I ask the question, why is it that we, the descendants of the formerly enslaved, those are German people we heard, saying that they are displeased, but we, the people of the formerly enslaved, who have no really part in this, what is...
Persons that speak out against him. Here we have a free democracy where we can say whatever we want about each other. But why is it, if we have no ill will towards each other, that we just can't let each other live and say...
To the DCH, drop, hover, hold on. Once the shaking starts, you know it's earthquake. Make a quick move to a safe place. Don't run to the door, we are in the exit. Stairs might block up or full of people. Elevator, avoid that because you might get in and poof, power gone, and you're stuck in that box without ear. Take cover under a strong table or a bed, or crouch against an inside wall or in a corner, and cover your face and your head with your arms. Remember, DCH, drop, cover, hold on. Glass windows and doors, outside walls and doors, in an earthquake, bad news. Take care yourself. Most injuries during earthquakes happen when something drop and hit people entering or exiting a building. Last thing, nobody run outside and ask, you feel it, you feel it? Remain calm, stay indoors until all the shaking stop, and do the DCH, drop, cover, hold on.
This message is sponsored by the Australian Government, AusAid, and produced by NEMA in collaboration with WinFM.
Welcome to Island Tea with your faves. Keep it locked in with us for your daily dose of hot tea, only on Win Media 98.9.
And we are back on Island Tea, and as promised, we have two representatives from Digicel in studio with us. I'll allow them to introduce themselves, and they will let you know what it is they will be talking about today. So good morning, and welcome to our WinFM studios and to our Island Tea program.
Good morning, and pleasant good morning to our listeners. A pleasant good morning to our listeners. Happy Monday. It's Monday?
It's now Tuesday.
It's Tuesday. It definitely feels like a Monday to me.
That kind of week.
So I'm Ashma. I'm the marketing executive, and of course I have
Travis Gibson with Ashma this morning. I am recharge and distribution executive.
Okay.
So of course we're here to tell you what's going on at Digicel. We're still in celebration mode, celebrating our 20th year anniversary. And like I would have mentioned initially, it is a year-long promotion, so there's a lot of exciting things. But for the month of June, we're celebrating fathers all month long with our Father's Day promotion, which starts today, where we're giving dads a chance to win a flat screen TV, a 43-inch flat screen TV, along with amazing weekly prizes. For just performing transactions in store, if you activate a 3-day plan or higher, if you pay your bill in full, sign up for postpaid, or sign up for Digicel Plus services in Nevis, you have a chance to win that grand prize for Dad and some exciting in-store weekly prizes.
Right, so it doesn't have to be Dad that's doing the transaction.
It doesn't have to be Dad that's doing the transaction. You could win it for your dad, or if he does a transaction in store, he get a chance to win it for himself.
Okay,
right.
No
So that promotion ends on, the winner will be selected on the first week in July. We will announce the grand prize winner. But like I mentioned, across St. Kitts and Nevis, every week in the retail space, we will be giving back to our customers gas vouchers, music festival tickets, among other prizes that you could get to win by performing transactions in the retail space.
Okay, Mr. Gibson, what role do you play in all of this?
All of this, I am the wingman. I'm the good support.
Yes, he is.
At Digicel, it's a team, it's a family, so we all chip in and we get everything done. I mean, you don't see the hard work behind, you see the finished, polished product.
We do.
You know, and we want you to appreciate that. And definitely for this month, we are continuing to give back to our customers.
Okay. Right. last month we had an exciting promotion where we're giving customers a chance to win $2,000 cash in the cash vault. And of course, Travis was the hard working behind all of this. He had to ensure that the cash vault was up, it was working properly, and I executed. It was an exciting promotion. We had a number of winners who would have caught their share of $2,000 cash. And of course, we had a lot of customers saying that it looks easy, but it is not easy when
Never
you go
easy.
in
Exactly.
and you have the cash flying all over the place and you're trying to grab
and
as
hold.
much as you
Mhm.
can. But it was an exciting promotion. So we're taking a break for the month of June to celebrate dads with something special. And then since our customers love the cash vault, so we will continue with that later down.
Okay, so have you had somebody that managed to grab the 2,000?
No, so we
Okay.
had customers who, I think the highest customer would have been maybe $300. Yes.
It's that hard.
So I've tried it
Wow.
myself. I've gone in and tried to grab as much as you can.
it's hard.
It is looks easy, but it is not easy.
Why is Mr. Gibson chuckling? Is he the one that's making it hard for us?
He put on the blowers to ensure that the cash went all over the place.
Let me tell you, I've been in one of those and I know it's rough, so I definitely understand.
But it was quite an exciting promotion. We had a number of customers across St. Kitts and Nevis who would have grabbed their share, and were very excited. Some person said that it was a thrill to be in there. It was exciting, even if they didn't catch as much as they wanted to. They said this was so exciting, you know, just being in the cash vault. So congratulations to all of our winners. I don't know who that lucky winner is going to be for the month of June for Father's Day, but stay tuned. We'll tell you a lot more. And just to touch on some of our promotional offers that we have going on right now, for customers who would sign up to postpaid, you will get 50% off on any Samsung device in the retail space once you sign up for a postpaid plan. And of course, our handset offer, you can get the CP12 with a 30-day plan for just $245 EC dollars, or you can get an Alcatel for just $150 EC dollars with also a 30-day plan included. So these are some of our handset offers that you could visit any retail store and take advantage of, and get a chance to win whatever is in the lucky dip in the retail space on a weekly basis.
Oh, you have a lucky dip too?
We do the lucky dip. So the lucky dip is we put the prices in, and when customers come in, they do a transaction at the counter. They provide a receipt, and they get to dip in the box and win instant prizes. It's not a chance to win; it's win instant prizes. So we would have had grocery vouchers, gas vouchers, KFC vouchers, rituals vouchers, Chop Chop Spa vouchers in there. And this month we're adding in a higher value gas vouchers. So it's not the typical 100, it's more than that, as well as music festival tickets, because that's upcoming. We want to give customers a chance to win those as well.
Caller, go ahead.
Hi, good morning. Contentia.
Hi.
Not aligned with the topic right now, but the upcoming.
Okay. So you'll have to call back. You'll have to call back after this segment. Okay, we can continue now. You said $100 wasn't enough. Some people barely could put 20 in the car. That's plenty, no?
Right. So we're giving away $200 gas this month. So if you're lucky, you dip in the box, you get a chance to win $200 gas.
$200, you said,
Yes.
Yep. Okay.
We would have started with 50. Sometimes we give $100, and I think customers are very grateful whenever they get a gas voucher. It doesn't even matter the amount.
As I just said, I watch people put 20 in, so I know 100 is plenty.
Right. So that's part of our activation in the retail space for the month of June until we end Father's Day. We know there's always a hype for Mother's Day, so we decide that we're going to celebrate fathers all month long, give them just that amount of hype as well, and there'll be a number of in-store giveaways and rewards back to our customers simply for being part of the Digicel family.
Okay. To get a chance to put your hand in the lucky dip, to win the instant prizes, is there a certain amount that you have to spend, or it's once you do a transaction?
So our transaction would be if you activate a 7-day plan and up. A 7-day plan is With the VAT, all of our prices are VAT reduced. I believe it's $24.19. I think that VAT reduce ends at the end of this month. Yes.
All of that.
So your last chance to take advantage of the discounted prices. So what we've done, we've reduced our prices from the beginning of the VAT reduce. So all of our plans, prepaid, postpaid, Digicel Plus plans have been reduced to that amount. So here's your last chance to take advantage of that 13%. So if you activate a 7-day plan, which starts at $24.17, or higher, you get a chance to dip. If you pay your bill in full, you also get a chance to dip. If you purchase a handset, any of our handsets available, you do get a chance to dip as well. And if you sign up in Nevis for Digicel Plus internet service, or you pay your internet bill in full, you get to dip and win an instant prize as well.
Yeah, right. So, Mr. Gibson, you're quiet over there. Anything to add?
Just keep it digital. I mean, you have no reason to do anything else.
Oh, well. I'm sorry to drag Mr. Gibson in on the radio.
Don't be sorry. Don't be sorry. He said he's a wingman, so the wingman needs to come.
He is an all-rounder, but he supports marketing really well with activations on the ground. So,
okay.
So we work together.
That's very good to know. Anything else that we need to add? And I must say that this year I really see there's been an outpouring of effort when it comes to promoting Father's Day, because I was surprised to hear advertisement even at the bottom of May when it comes to dads, and we don't normally do that. So kudos to everyone that's involved in ensuring that the fathers feel just as recognized as the moms.
Yeah, that's right. So, like I said, we're still celebrating our anniversary promotion. There's a number of different activities that we'll be doing until our anniversary is all the way in December. I know persons are saying, why are we celebrating our anniversary so early? So what happens is, because Christmas is such a busy period, our anniversary gets lost in the Christmas noise. So we've decided that this year we're going to celebrate for an entire year, giving back to our customers, celebrating our long-standing customers, as well as long-standing staff. So we've already started that initiative. 2 weeks ago, we would have celebrated a long-standing customer in Nevis with a flat screen TV. She'd been with us since 2005.
Oh, nice.
So we've started that process. We will be selecting a customer from St. Kitts. And of course, we're celebrating our long-standing staff. We've had staff who've been with us for over 20 years. So we will be celebrating them as well as part of our anniversary, celebrating what our commitment across St. Kitts and Nevis, helping the communities, giving back with our CSR initiatives. All of those we will be portraying throughout the year as we celebrate that year-long promotion. So if you're not with Digicel, of course, it's your time to come over, just be a part of the Better Network. And I like to say that we give more value and, of course, more rewards to our customer, because every month there is some special give back to our customers in a big way or in a small way. There's always something that we give back to our customers.
Do we still have employees that are still working there 20 years later?
Yes.
Okay. No, I'm just asking. I don't know. It's a good thing. It's a good thing. Yeah.
We have a lot of long-standing staff in Nevis who've been with us for 20, 21 years. So majority would be Nevis, but yes, they're still part of the team and still very excited to be a part of the Digicel team.
Yeah, because I went in Google because I wasn't sure. Well, I didn't remember when Digicel was launched in St. Kitts, and I see it was launched on December 2nd, 2005.
So exactly. So that's when we will celebrate our anniversary, our grand anniversary. There's a grand element. We will tell you all later down what we're giving back as we celebrate that that anniversary special. But just to not get lost in the Christmas noise this year, we are celebrating the year. I know for the past 2 years, there was a year actually we missed the date. We did not celebrate our anniversary because it was such a hype for Christmas. I think it was when we were giving away a plot of land. We were giving away a plot of land, which was very exciting Christmas promotion, and I think the anniversary got lost during that promotion. So to avoid that, celebrating us being in St. Kitts and Nevis as the premier telecommunication provider, we're not missing that this year, so we celebrated for an entire year. So to all our customers, thank you for being in the Digicel team, no matter how short or long you've been with us. Thank you, and stay tuned for a lot of what's coming up as we continue to celebrate this exciting promotion. Not forgetting dads, of course. June is our month of dad, so we'll be sharing more of what we'll be doing in the retail space, on the streets of 4th Street or Charlestown as we celebrate dads.
Alrighty. Mr. Gibson, anything before we close?
Just to add, we ask customers to keep doing everything that you're doing. We are not asking you to do anything out of the ordinary. It's activate a plan, sign up, pay your bills in full and on time, the usual stuff that you do. So you don't have to exert any extra effort. Just stay with Digicel, keep doing what you're doing, keep getting those rewards.
Well, thank you both for coming and letting us know what is happening at Digicel, and we look forward to seeing you again as you continue with your year-long and month-long promotions. Thank you.
WINN is 98.9. 98.9 is Win FM.
If you live in low-lying areas, be aware of the possibility of tsunamis immediately after an earthquake. A strong earthquake lasting 20 seconds or more is a natural tsunami warning. Do not wait for an official warning. Gather your family members and evacuate immediately after the shaking stops. Don't delay. A tsunami could occur within minutes.
This message is sponsored by the Australian Government, AusAid, and produced by NEMA in collaboration with WinFM.
Hey, have you heard about the water shortage in our area?
Yeah, it's pretty serious. I've been trying to conserve water as much as possible.
Me too. I've started taking shorter showers and turning off the faucet when I brush my teeth.
Well, that's great. Another way to save water is to fix any leaks in your house.
Oh, I hadn't thought of that. How much water can a leak waste?
A small leak can waste up to 20 gallons of water daily, which can really add up over time.
Wow, that's a lot. And have to check for any leaks in my house.
But another good tip is to only run your dishwasher and washing machine when they are full to save water and energy.
I'll keep that in mind. It's important that we all do our part to conserve water, especially during this shortage.
Absolutely. Every drop counts.
This message was brought to you by the St. Kitts Water Services Department. Learn more at water.gov.kn.
Welcome to Island Tea with your faves. Keep it locked in with us for your daily dose of hot tea only on Win Media 98.9.
And we're back on Island Tea. Caller, go ahead.
Good morning, Cortencia.
Good morning. How are you doing?
Good day.
Good. Yes. Thanks for the lesson this morning, Quint. Right. I think you're right on point.
Yeah.
As far as the media is concerned. Okay. Unfortunately, we've grown into the fact that, into the belief that the Western media is the gospel. Okay. And yes, there's the Al Jazeera and so on, but they're not really. They don't really have the listenership that the what you call the, in inverted commas, mainstream media or the traditional media has.
Yeah.
And so we do have to be careful with what we get from them. Interestingly enough, the BBC, which for years many people regarded as fair and balanced, when in fact, when it really came down to the crunch, they would promulgate the Western view, especially the British view.
Yeah.
Right? But interestingly, I listened to a program on, I think it was yesterday, where basically it seems as if they're giving up on a place like Gaza and pivoting to saying that history will not judge the media, the Western policies kindly. Because it's one thing, they made the point that what should have been an eye-opener from the beginning was the fact that Israel never allowed media, independent media, to go into Gaza.
Yeah.
That in itself was a red flag.
Yeah.
Okay, and it's still happening.
Even now, yeah.
But, yeah, but notwithstanding that, they made the point that one sure thing that the historians would not be able to say is that people didn't know, because it's obvious from pictures, from social media, that total destruction is taking place there.
Yeah.
You can't look at that kind of destruction and not realize that something is going on apart from just looking for Hamas fighters. It's so obvious. And so they've made the point now of basically trying to excuse themselves by saying that they're not allowed in there, okay? And they're still tempted to say, according to the Hamas Ministry of Health and those kinds of things. But you can't avoid pictures of people being hurt, children being killed, all those things. It's there for everybody to see. Okay? So and with regards to Ukraine, Donald Trump made an observation there. He may have said it flippantly, but he may yet be proven correct. We're basically marching into World War III.
Yeah, that is the main.
It sounds.
That is
because, yeah.
That
because
is. You see those clips that I played the last set, where you see the German leader is and the German people are. Look, we are taking this thing lightly. This is not a light thing. This is serious.
The mere fact that World War II happened, about, was it 30 years or so after World War One?
Yeah, thereabout.
Right. Okay, that's a relatively short time. What makes us think that the same kind of mentality that produced World War One and World War II do not exist now?
Yeah.
Okay, and so we're slow marching into it, because I don't think, honestly, with all the recent successes that had with, for instance, destroying some of the bombers fleet, the Russian bombers fleet, and blowing up bridges and so on, I do not think for one moment that Putin would sit there and let Russia lose that war.
No.
Okay? Not when they have an arsenal of nuclear weapons. Right? They, to me, they're being pretty restrained, if you ask me.
Yeah, same with me.
Because the easiest thing for them to say is, listen, enough of this. I'm not taking any more casualties. Ukraine is not going to be part of NATO, and we're not going to be fighting this anymore, and use their nuclear weapons.
Yeah.
I honestly suspect that, and that I think is what Donald Trump realized. Okay?
But
and so
why, why even start something if we don't want this to happen? Because there had to be a start for this to
but
end
who
up
is
where it's gonna
But
end
who is
up.
starting it?
Who started it, though?
Who started what?
Who started this whole thing, Quint?
Lewinsky, or whatever his name is, decided to allow NATO to put a base in the close proximity of Russia.
But they weren't troubling anybody, were they?
How you mean they weren't trouble? You see,
So the fact that they put a base there.
You see how you understand?
But you just put a base there. The US have bases all over.
Okay.
See,
you see that, and that's the thing. That's the thing, Quinn. Right? Everybody looks at history from their point of view.
Yeah.
So as far as, for instance, a lot of people are concerned, this whole Gaza thing started on October 7th.
Yeah.
When in fact we have a long history of injustice going back to when Israel was first created.
Yeah.
Right? And similarly here with Ukraine. Because remember it was part of the Soviet Union.
Yes.
Right? USSR.
But
NATO, but if they were finished with the Warsaw Pact, they should have finished with NATO
That's it.
But this, if you are going to be expanding east towards Russia, right? You're going to be putting bases there. You're going to be considering joining NATO. What you expect? You expect the Soviet Union or Russia that lost millions in World War II to just sit back and let that happen?
You have another caller.
Yes, hello?
Yeah.
Hi.
We're gonna wrap up now, so be brief, both of you.
Yes, I'm going to be brief. You see, I used to be correcting Jamster on this Ukraine thing, and he used to be misleading Katensia with all due respect.
No, nobody misleading me. I just have my side.
and I used to be always correcting Jamster, but he never used to like it concerning this Ukraine. Who started it was America and NATO who started it. 2014, they overthrew the Ukraine government and installed the puppet. Okay, and they installed the puppet, and they set up. They want to set up the bases. You think if Russia got try to set up a base in Mexico? As a matter of fact, you remember even when they sent missiles to Cuba, which is so far away from the U.S. border, and America made a stink over it.
Yeah.
But how come he wrong now for Putin to be making a stink over American NATO bases that they want to put in Ukraine, which is just on the border?
Yeah.
But they ain't gonna do them nothing. They just want to put a base there.
Oh.
Okay, what about when Russia wants to put
Wait.
Cartensia is being sarcastic.
The only reason armies exist is to fight wars. Do you agree with that?
Yes.
And what is a military base?
A threat to maybe the other part see it as a threat, because look at what's happening down in Guyana. Yeah.
And what you expect? What do you expect to happen?
Eventually,
if a military base is set up down there.
That the greedy people will take things for them.
Guyana is no longer in charge. Guyana is no longer in charge of its own foreign policy after that, you know.
No.
Once you have,
and that is what they don't see,
base on your soil, you know, the U.S. would regard that as
their interest
to that base.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I get that.
Right.
Yeah.
But
right.
Unless you're troubling people, then you just have it there for protection, right?
But that is why I keep telling you that you all should find a new a peaceful way out of this conflict, rather than this thing about.
But what if the people don't want a peaceful way? The people did not present a peaceful way and say, let's share the oil. The people say, we want 2/3 of your country.
And I said it. Just a few years, but I think it's 22 or somewhere around there. Russia and Zelensky had negotiate a peace plan. There was to go now and sign it. It was, I think, it's Boris, the former English Prime Minister.
Johnson.
He went up there and told Zelensky, hey, you can't sign the peace deal, you know? Otherwise, we're going to deal with you. And so U.S. and NATO prevented Zelensky from signing the peace deal with Russia, where they would have had peace, because they wanted a war they wanted a proxy war between Ukraine
That's
and
exactly
Russia.
what
Because
they
the people, they're going to lose money. The industrial complex going to lose money because they're selling the weapons and stuff to Ukraine and that sort of stuff.
Man, nothing boosts an economy more than a war, right? And the thing is, you know.
You said boost? How though?
Boost.
Because with all the destruction and all of these things, how?
Because production is ramped up.
Yeah.
Right? You'll get a boom. Yes, it has to be paid for eventually.
Oh, okay.
But people don't mind making the sacrifice in between, because as far as they're concerned, they're fighting a life and death war. But you have to realize that both world wars started in Europe. There's something about those places. It's also true that Europe was responsible for practically all of the world colonialism.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
right?
I
So
hear
there's
Quinn say
something
that all the
about
time.
those people. There's something about those people that you got to watch. Okay, very warlike, and maybe it's in their DNA. I don't know, but the wars weren't started by Russia. The wars were started by what is known as the Western Europe now. You know, and
Mr. McMahon, in closing, don't you find it interesting that a leader of Germany, knowing as his people were saying, a leader of Germany, knowing the history after the First and Second World War, you know for how long German was ostracized from the rest of the world?
Yeah.
Why would he want to? Why would he?
Now they're coming out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. And you know what's going to happen next, eh? You're going to hear them starting to say that, well, we want our own nuclear deterrent.
Yeah.
And that will be the end of it. You know. I don't know why these people always want to start some kind of war.
Yeah.
Right. You know, it's something. It got to be something in the DNA. They just want to subjugate other people. They have to do that. Whether it's in Africa, whether they came all across the Atlantic and subjugate North America, wanted to do the same thing in South America, wherever, the world over, right? Of course, you have to have that boogeyman of Russia trying to derail Western culture and all of that.
Yeah.
But and standard of living.
Well,
but that's just an excuse.
Well, we've come to the end of today's program, so thanks for your input. And Hortensia, the end of another stint.
Yeah, Tuesday. Choose to be kind, choose to be nice to someone. You never know who you may be choosing to uplift their spirits today.
Yeah.
We're different. We're 98.9. 98.9. Win FM.
Building supplies, electrical supplies, furniture, appliances, carpets and tiles. It's the company where you can get it all. All at TDC, home and building depot. From lawn and garden, the TVs and stereos. All at TDC, home and building depot. Come on down, get what you're looking for. It's all at TDC, home and building depot.
The importance of co-parenting. Every child has the right to bond with the parents that gave them life. Children are happiest when they can freely communicate and enjoy the time, talents, and lessons that